Hey everybody, Ryan Melvin with ArizonaShortSaleTV.com, sitting here with Coach running the camera behind.
What's up, baby?
All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about. There's a question out there that I actually got last night talking to a client, a prospective client that looks like their house is probably going to be going to trustee sale. They called it too late in the process. It was going. I believe it was going tomorrow, and they were talking to us yesterday, but. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about is what happens. That was the question that they had, is what's going to happen to me that now that my home is going to auction or potentially going to auction tomorrow. And we want to go over a couple different scenarios, a couple different options that may happen if you do lose your home to foreclosure and it goes through the trustee sale. And one of those options is going to be that the bank goes back and takes it into their possession as an REO property, real estate owned or bank owned or foreclosed property. At that point, we're going to address each one of these separately. So at that point, let's say the bank comes in and takes a property through trustee sale, and once they've made contact with you, there's no blanket rule that they're going to kick you out in a certain amount of time. We can say anywhere from a couple weeks up to a month, but there could be a good opportunity to get some cash for keys. And what we mean by that is, there may be an opportunity. I'm not saying that there will be, but there may be an opportunity for the bank to come to you and say that if you leave this property in the condition that it's in today, we'll give you money for the keys, basically cash for keys. So sometimes that works out in both favors, both for the seller, the person that lost the property, and also for the bank, because they're going to get it back in better condition, better than as if you were to go and ruin the property after it gets foreclosed on. So
which we don't recommend either.
We don't recommend that at all, no, because actually when you go ahead and get a mortgage, that you've actually signed paperwork in there saying that I'm not going to go devalue the home. That's part of when you get the mortgage or when you get the house, that you're agreeing not to devalue the home, and eventually they could come back after you. But let's talk about the second scenario that may happen, and that's if an investor comes through and buys the home at trustee sale. Meaning that, let's just use an example. I think tomorrow there are about 500 homes going to trustee sale. Of those 500 homes, we may see between 250, maybe 50%, either go back to the bank, as I said, an REO property, or get postponed, and we'll cover that as option number 3. But let's say there's 250 of the 500 that have what we call an opening bid amount. And what that means is that the bank has come through and said that we're going to start the bid amount at this value, X amount of dollars. That may be below market, could be way below market, it could be crazy above market, meaning that the home is maybe worth 100 and the opening bid is 250,000. Well, obviously there's going to be no investors to buy that property, and it's going to either get postponed or go back to the bank, or get what they call a drop bid, and that's where at the last minute the bank comes through and drops the price maybe from 250 down to 75,000, now making that an attractive bid. If it's worth 100, now it's down at 75. It's more an attractive bid for investors. But let's talk about an investor buying the property, and if they do come through and you have an attractive opening bid amount, it goes through the trustee sale, and an investor is a successful bidder at the property. A couple things may happen here. You get basically one of two types of investor. One of the investors, and we do occasionally purchase properties at trustee sale with another function of our business, but you could get an investor like us who will come make contact with you in a civilized way without the sheriff. And what we're trying to do is, we're not trying to cause a big problem here. We know that you know that it's probably that this is happening, and we're there to make sure the situation, we're in it for a win-win for everybody, including you. I mean, it may not look like it because we're buying the home at auction, but we have investors that are in it obviously to make money, but at the same time, we're licensed realtors, and at the same, I have a heart as well. You know, I'm not cutthroat and that type of businessman. Although I am a good businessman, I'm not that kind of person. So when my partner and I, when we make contact with the homeowner, we're there to basically explain the process, that we're here to get you off into a nice situation. And at that time, there may be another opportunity for cash for keys. It has happened to us where, an example we bought a home that had a tenant in place. The only problem the tenant had, he knew that he had to go, he knew that it was going to auction. The thing that he was worried about was his $1,000 security deposit. And what happened to that? Well, it's with the homeowner in California, wherever that guy ended up landing. So we don't have that. But what we did work out is that within 2 weeks, we told him, if you're out within, I think it was 10 days, we'll give you $1,200. We'll give you $1,000 back, and we'll even throw in a couple $100 on top of it, so you can get a moving truck and you can get set up in your next house. So very gracious. Him and his daughter packed up. I mean, it took them, I think they were out in 5 days, maybe 6 days. We gave them 10, maybe 14, but we could have went in and we could have brought the cops with us and basically demanded that they get out of there or show us a lease or, strong arm them to get out of there. And we felt that when we started the business of Trustee Sale, we had that opportunity. And like I said, that's not the kind of person that I am or my partner Hani is. So we decided to take the high road and to go and make contact with them. So you're going to get one of two people. One that's going to make contact with you, try to work out a situation that wins for both the investor and you. And then you're going to run into a hothead who is going to possibly bring the cops with them. And at that point, you still have rights. You may want to consult with an attorney at that point, because if you are a tenant and you do have a valid lease in place, then that new investor must honor that lease. If you can produce the lease and it's at market value, then that tenant must honor that lease. And just don't let them strong arm you and basically tell you what the law is. Make sure you get double check it, triple check it, and get your own representation, get your own advice, and go about it that way. And at that point, you may even have another opportunity for cash for keys. If they really want you to leave the property in good condition and you do have a valid lease in place and it is at market value, well, then you may be in a position to get that security deposit back and go move off into another property with a more stable situation. So,
Ryan, that's a really good point. Recently this year, and I guess in the last 12 to 18 months, there's been some changes to the Landlord-Tenant Act here in Arizona anyways, and it's important that you reference that they talk to an attorney, because that stuff changes constantly, and they need to be empowered in that place. So that's Definitely. A really, really good thought.
Yep, and just know that you do have options. And just because, I got a call from a buddy last week, and I'm going to do another video on this because I don't want to take up another 10 minutes on this, but he called me. He's a tenant, and he's been renting now for about 5 or 6 months, and he got the notice that the property's going to auction. So we'll get into that and how you may be able to prevent yourself as a tenant from getting yourself into a situation like that. But I don't want to dip into it too far. But let's get on to number 3. And number 3 is a postponement. And that would be the third option. The bank does not take it back, or it does not get purchased by an investor. The other option would be that it gets postponed maybe 30, 60, maybe 90 days from the day it was going. And touching on a little bit about what Coach was talking about in Tuesday's video, just because some of the banks are postponing the auctions, that doesn't mean that the processes in the background have stopped. Meaning that the 1,000 people that they have employed to get the process going, the foreclosure process, they still have jobs. They're still continuing as if the auctions are still going to happen. Now, let's say they stop for 30 days. Well, 30 days from now, they have a whole backlog of homes that they've already prepared. Everything's ready to go, because from what everybody's saying, it's that they weren't prepared when they were going in and foreclosing. So you better believe that when they come back around this wave, that they're going to do it. I'm not saying they're doing it the wrong way, but that they're going to make sure that they're doing everything properly. And just because we get a postponement today doesn't mean that in 30 days they're not ready to go. So you need to hear that. That's very important, that just because that the news is saying that they're stopping the trustee sales doesn't mean things are stopping in the background. So keep that in your mind, that when it comes time that they release the levy and things are coming down, that we're going to see a major flood.
One other add to that, Ryan, just the terminology we were talking about earlier is that a lot of times the foreclosure date, the trustee sale date, will be extended indefinitely versus extended 30 or 60 days. And if it's an indefinite type thing, it really fits the model that you were just talking about. Because let's say it is indefinite. People assume it's 30 days. Well, whenever that indefinite finishes and it becomes finite, they're subject to being foreclosed on the next day.
Sure.
So they're postponing the trustee sale, like you said, but not necessarily the entire foreclosure process. And it puts people at risk. So where's your recommendation there? Who would you have them talk to? What would you have them do? Certainly consult with us. We can give them some insight, but they also need to talk to who?
You need to talk to an attorney. You also want to probably reach out to your lender. Call them and see what's going on, and just ask questions. That's what we do as a short sale team here, as a short sale negotiators. We're detectives on the real estate side of it. We're just asking questions and asking them twice, 3 times, 4 times, getting multiple answers, multiple questions, and that's what you need to do as a homeowner. If you don't hire us as your real estate consultant to go out and negotiate on your behalf with your lender, then you need to pick up the phone and don't hide from the lender. Ask the questions and get to the bottom of it and find out. And it takes a phone call to find out who the trustee is. You can log on to basically any public website, find out who the trustee is, and physically call the trustee and give them your property address and find out if there's an auction date scheduled. And I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that. Just do some research, do some homework, and we'll go from there on. Now, like I said, I'm going to do a follow-up video and go through a scenario that we found last week with one of my buddies called me. Like I said, he's been in a home now for a couple months and just found out it's going to auction, and he has security deposits and cleaning deposits and everything. Stuck with the landlord in California, doesn't want to do anything. So we're going to touch on that maybe next week, maybe even for Friday. So wrap it up, ArizonaShortSaleTV.com. Talk to you later.